Well, good evening. Welcome to the April 17th Clark County Fire District 6 Board of Fire Commissioners meeting. This evening's meeting will begin after the conclusion of our Station 151 board workshop. So at this time, I'll turn things over to Chief Maurer and she can walk us through that.
Thank you, Commissioner Pfeiffer. So discussions on 151 really ramped up about a year and a half ago when District 6 realized that we were seeing an imbalance in responses between CCFD6 and CCFR. So since that summer, CCFR has been staffing Station 151 a third of the time. This staffing that they're doing has almost completely balanced our calls, a 1-for-1 ratio. So it solved the problem that we initially thought we had. The two chiefs, so myself and Chief Nora, have been working on an operational plan to staff Station 151 full-time. And this plan gets evaluated every 4 months. So we're at that 4-month evaluation point. And any changes to the plan have to be agreed upon by both agencies. So we have started that drafting process of the operational plan changes. Currently there was CCFR, they've had them for about 2 weeks, but we haven't had any comments to date. We also presented these changes and what we were striving towards with labor management, and they were given the PowerPoint that the board will see tonight as well. And we haven't gotten any comments from that presentation. And in labor management, they've been supportive of what we've outlined and what we're trying to do. They did have some things that they wanted to see addressed, and we did that prior to this workshop. So the things you'll see in here have already been addressed by labor and management.
Oh, you need the clicker?
Sorry, it's on the podium. So current staffing at Station 151, CCFR staffs it a third of the time with 1 officer, 2 firefighters, and one of those being a certified paramedic. The future staffing proposal would be CCFR doing it 2/3 of the time and District 6 doing it 1/3 of the time with that same model of 1 officer, 2 firefighters, and 1 paramedic. The reason why we wanted to split it 2/3 and 1/3 is you'll see in the AVL diagrams on how the responses are into the different districts, we feel that will balance out our calls between the 2 districts and keep that balance that we were striving for. So in January, Chief Nora mentioned in a FFB meeting that he would like to start staffing Station 151 2/3 of the time. Once he notified us that that was his plan, we met with ourselves and with labor and with the board, and we're told that if they're going to staff it, we wanted to be part of that as well. So staff began working on that plan to staff it and evaluating how we could participate a third of the time. So the plan that we want to do right now is CCFD6 will maintain shift change at 0800 and a 24/48 schedule. CCFNR will maintain their shift change at 0700 and a 4896 schedule. The 2 departments have different shift change times and different schedules that they work. Trades and or holdovers will not be allowed between the 2 districts. And at the start of each shift, the Station 151 company officer will contact both CCFD6 and CCFNR battalion chiefs on duty so we can ensure accountability. So we're addressing this joint staffing plan in small increments. This allows us to continually evaluate the program. Essentially, we are walking before we run. And so that's why you'll see some of these things up here. It doesn't mean that when we reevaluate at those 4-month increments that these things won't change. This is just what we're setting up initially so that we can ensure that we can identify any issues that there may be. So each district will be providing their own response engine. The reason why we want to do that is our engines are, even though they're both fire engines, they're different in response equipment, layout, and spec, and the way we pump them. And so we figured that's going to be an easy transition for our crews to maintain our own engine. We will all be providing our own medical equipment and supplies necessary, and that's because we have different ordering systems and different ways we purchase medical equipment. We will also maintain the responsibility for all maintenance, equipment, insurance, and fuel on the rigs. Some of the questions that Chief Nora and I are trying to address is we want a Lucas device in that area because we know that that can be a long transport time area, and so that's an important piece of equipment to us. We're both open to doing a shared Lucas device or finding how we can get one out of our current systems and bring it into 151. But we're committed to doing that. Another difference too is the NOx system. So each fire district has their own keys and own system, and so we have to figure out a way to incorporate both those with accountability, because if you were to lose the NOx key, you have to rekey your whole district. So it's a big deal. And so those are just some of the little things that we have to work through. So the operational plan. The ops chiefs of the district are working to develop a mutually agreed upon response plan for Station 151, and I'll turn it over to Chief Russell here in just a minute. But two of the things that were really important to the local that we made sure to put into this draft response plan is they want to reserve the right to mirror a staff CCFR unit if staffing and capabilities are modified. And that would be an additional CCFD6 unit rather than just allowing CCFNR to respond. They also wanted to maintain the right to staffing the Clark County Fair during fair operations, and that's what we presented to CAFR. So that second bullet, let's say, for example, CCFR was to start staffing 2/3. We held off and started staffing our 1/3 at a later date. We would continue to mirror and do our current response as we are now until that station was staffed fully 24/7 by both districts.
So once it's staffed fully, even on EMS calls 1 through 5, we wouldn't mirror them
Mm-mm. No, but we maintain the right to mirror if that staffing or shifts change.
Like, so for example, if they, I assume when they go to 3, if somebody called in sick, if they were to drop to 2, we would mirror because they're not providing the same response that we are.
Correct, but that's actually a change in the operational plan, so they would have to bargain that before they could do that. So the operational plan guarantees 3 all the
Okay,
time.
all right, so
They would reduce
CCFNR
staffing
would have
somewhere
to.
else first.
Yeah.
Gotcha. They would take it from Charter Oak or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But let's say they decided that they only could handle doing it 1/3 of the time, staffing, then we would mirror again.
Okay.
So.
I understand.
And now I will turn it over to Chief Russell so he can tell you about how they're gonna set up the response plan.
So the green area here that you see, and you guys have seen multiple versions of this as we've kind of rolled a lot of or answered a lot of questions in the past regarding 151 and their beat. But this is the latest GIS data on drive time. So this would establish kind of 151's beat if it were staffed 365. And that's just based off of drive times. So the response capability out of there would be the same as everywhere with the exception of 61 is AVL dispatching. So it's just closest unit gets the call. And so that's kind of roughly what the area there would look like. With that area, we anticipate around 100 call a month call volume, or in the 80s, between 80 and 100 roughly. We have data from like 2016 through 2020. However, we have experienced a lot of call volume increases since 2020. So that's kind of what we anticipate. We're continuing to work on just some of the nitty-gritty details on how, right now for lower responses, it's agency only. And so we need to make sure that 151's unit is seen as both agencies. And I think we've figured that out. We're also working with Vector Solutions to see if there's a way that we can combine our staffing programs for this station so that, we can maintain accountability with whatever crews are working there. So we're going to be diving into that here shortly. So really, I think that's, in short, that's kind of how we're looking at this. And to Chief Mauer's point, I think, as far as like the shared rig, different separate apparatus out there, and a lot of these things that we're kind of rolling out are just our let's get walking, let's establish this partnership and answer the questions as they come up. I'm sure the companies that work out there will, find all sorts of issues that we haven't been able to predict or anticipate. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to, in this kind of walking phase, be able to establish those things. And then as the partnership becomes stronger and we kind of get used to this system, that we could potentially, move to a more advanced model down the road.
When you say that, I assume you mean one unit, right?
Yeah,
Because
potentially a
it's-
shared piece of apparatus
Yeah.
or other apparatus in the station as well. You know, I know that, you know, watching other organizations that have done this, they allow mixed crews for a certain time, you know, if you have cover in the morning or something like that. Our anticipation or our hope would to be able to get to that point at some time, but our initial rollout is, you know, let's walk before we run and make sure we identify all the issues.
You see like one pre-connect on there?
One reconnect, but it's got to be a straight string.
Right, yeah, okay, all right, there you go, compromise,
Swing
okay.
bores only.
Making these kind of changes too in the fire service to have this joint response, there's a lot of moving parts that it touches everything. So to make this change in July or September, we can't do it all at once too. So that's why we're taking these little steps. So for the operational plan, the rules, regulations, policies, and SOGs, each department, their personnel will follow their current practices. However, the chiefs may come together and agree to changes. Of course, if any of those changes were to impede on the current collective bargaining agreements, we would bargain the impact of those changes. But an example might be the healthy in, healthy out policy that District 6 has that Clarkford doesn't currently have. So that would be an example of a policy we would maybe make specific for Station 151. So any changes to the facility will need approval through the FFB. We know that these are the top 4 changes that we're going to have right away in order to even move in. So we want a new door to separate the spaces from CCSO and fire. There's not really a functional workout space. We're looking at converting 2 offices into a workout space for a short-term plan, and then Chief Nor and I will have to work on a long-term plan. But any workout area that we do will require equipment purchase because currently all the equipment is CCSO, and that's a hefty bill. We also have to secure some truck bay space. So right now CCSO is really only allotted 1/3 of one bay, and they're occupying way more than that. So we have to work with them to get that truck bay space back so we can get our apparatus in there. And then just working on the keying system to make sure that all personnel have access because we don't have that dialed in yet.
So we have to get a permit from the county to put that door in? So it'll be done like in December or?
I'm not sure how much construction it is and stuff, but
Sorry.
they do.
I assume you guys are talking about that, the FFB and
Yeah.
all that. Has it been okay?
The door isn't in yet.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
We've been working on HVAC units and, yeah.
Okay.
But everybody's agreed to the door, and they have an architect on file who's Carl Johansson, so we would probably just most likely use Clarkford's architect on file to save some bidding time. So what staff has been debating is a July 1st versus a September 1st start date. So when Chief Nor said that they would start at July 1st, he also said that in the reflector and to the community at neighborhood association meetings. District 6 hasn't given any commitment to when we will start other than we will staff at 1/3 of the time. So both districts have very similar impacts with this quick timeline of staffing. So there's a hiring timeline. From the moment the board said that you wanted our presence there 1/3 of the time, we began that hiring process. We are pushing that hiring process as fast as we possibly can, and we can't get people online until September 1. And that's not just staff, that's not just the part that staff does, that's getting turnouts and getting them to get notice to their current departments and all kinds of other things, background checks. So that is pushing that timeline as fast as we possibly can. The other thing is both districts have to make a promotion to fill this position. This will require District 6 to have an additional captain. It will require Clarkford to have, I'm not sure how many captains, but additional officer positions. Clarkford currently doesn't have a promotional list, so they have to establish that, and they think the timeline to establish that list even would be July, late July. And for us to do a promotion, we have to go back to the rule of 3. We would interview 3 candidates and make that promotion. Shift change. In order for District 6 to do this, we have to buffer our B shift. So we have to make B shift heavier than the other 2 shifts. And the reason being is we're going to carry a 5th or a 6th unit on B shift. In order to make shift changes at District 6, you have to give personnel a 30-day notice that you're going to change their Kelly day. So we have to make that promotion, give the notice, make those changes, and then we have to honor their vacation and time off already. So there's a lot of puzzle pieces that go into a shift change. It's not as easy as mid-year moving people from A or C shift to B shift. A lot of balancing that Chief Russell will have to do, and a lot of constraints within the contract. Budget, I'll go over the budget and where we're sitting, but currently we do not have the overtime budget to sustain staffing 151 for 21 shifts, which would require us to do in July and August. And I'll show you those numbers. We also have a couple other budget hits that will hit us at the same time. One of those is an academy. An academy is a costly venture, and in order to staff this station, we have to put on an academy. So that's going to hit our budget in overtime as well. And then we know the summer months in general hit us in overtime pretty hard. We also have, we know of 2 babies coming on this summer, and we know of 3 personnel that have mentioned that they might leave the end of June, but have not given the district a secure timeline on that. So we're already down 4 positions. We have a potential for 3 more leaving. We have a potential for 2 on family medical leave. Then you top that off with summer and multiple people being off. It's a really hard time for staffing in general, and especially to increase your staffing. So station infrastructure, that's the stuff we just talked about, that has to be done to the building. Most likely that wouldn't be even complete by September, but there'll be some things in that station that aren't complete or that aren't up to District 6 standards, and it will be a difficult transition time for those crews. It'll require a lot of patience. And then lastly, our collective bargaining agreements. Not only do we have timelines that we have to work within to change schedules, but with B shift having more personnel, we're in the process of bargaining with the local on adding additional vacation and Kelly day slots, because they will have too many personnel and not enough slots to take. And so that stuff all takes time. So again, this is our expedited hiring timeline. We usually like to advertise for about 2 months. We're doing that much faster this time and advertising for a month. We're doing laterals so we can get them through the academy faster, and the only way we could afford to do laterals is because we currently are carrying those 4 vacancies. If we weren't carrying those 4 vacancies, the budget would not support lateral hires. But since it does, May 1st, we're doing interviews and paramedic assessments. May 3rd will be the chief's interviews and conditional offers. May 4th, we'll begin the background checks, and those take about 45 days. That same day, we will start turnout sizing and ordering, and turnouts are anywhere from 4 to 9 months out. So we won't even have turnouts, but I'm sure Chief Newberry will come up with something. The week of June 19th will be medicals and psychological written exams. June 26th, they'll finish the psychological, and July 3rd, we'll give out employment offers. And again, that is pushing as fast as we can. That gives them less than 30 days to notify their current departments, because keep in mind, these are all laterals. And so they will have a start date of August 1st, completing the Fire Academy on August 31st, ready to go online September 1st. So again, like I said, there will be promotions and shift changes. We have a current promotional list, but because we have that rule of 3, we'll have to conduct chiefs interviews again. CCFNR needs to create that list, and then the shift changes, we have to give 30 days notice. So here are some of the unknowns that we had to work within when we did a budget analysis of how to afford staffing and when the best time was to staff. So we have 3 personnel that state they will be done by the end of June this year, but they have not committed to that date. So we have 3 unknowns plus our 4 vacancies, so that's a potential of 7 vacancies. We have 2 personnel that will be off on extended leave for birth of a child. That puts us at a potential 9 vacancies. And we already have our highest mandatory occurrences during June, July, and August historically. So on top of that, we have other commitments to overtime already, and those will include the training academy as well as the Clark County Fair, and those are significant impacts on overtime and staffing. So all of these things will place an increased workload on the crews and potential to increase mandatory OT that we know we already usually have during the summer. And the ones that get hit hardest by this are the officers and the paramedics. So when we look at the money, we did the worst case scenario and we said we had to staff the whole shift because of those unknowns of about 9 people that we don't know where will fall this summer. So to staff Station 151 on overtime cost us $5,400 to $5,900 a shift. That's for 3 personnel, 1 being that officer, firefighter, and paramedic. To staff July and August, we would have to do that for 21 shifts. That's a cost of $114,000 to $125,000 for the department. We know from history and looking at our academy that it costs about $16,000 a month in overtime to run an academy. So 2 months of that is $32,000. So if you take the 21 shifts plus the academy, we're at, let's say 150 to 160 to staff that in additional overtime costs from July 1st to August 31st. So with what we budget for overtime, I took the historical overtime per month. In 2022, it was about $114,000. So that plus our total overtime costs, our cost over budget would be anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000. So we would be deficit spending in our overtime budget if we were to staff Station 151 July 1st. If we were to wait till September 1st, we would avoid that deficit because we wouldn't be in the middle of academy, we wouldn't be in the middle of those summer months. We could get the new people online, and so we would avoid that deficit spending. There's a couple other things that are going to cost with Station 151. So construction permits are going to create a delay, we know that. Hopefully we're working through them faster than we have in the past. But the FFB, when they did their 2023 budget, they only budgeted $80,000 for capital expenditures. District 6 asked about that when we were in that FFB meeting, and at that point they said that it had already been developed and was ready to go to their board, so they couldn't adjust that cost. So what that means for us is some of those funds have already been expended. There's $46,000 left in that fund. We anticipate that the things that need to be done to the station, such as the door, the updates for gear grids, just station living, lockers, the lockers, I'm sorry, came out of that 80,000, so that's where we're down to 46. But there's HVAC repairs, there's other things that need to be done to the station. So we know from past projects how quick $46,000 goes, and we don't believe that that will cover the necessary repairs and upgrades and equipment. It's easy to spend $40,000 in workout equipment alone. And so one of the things the board has to consider is what we budgeted in our capital expenditures for the FFB will exceed that. When that is in excess, the district has to pick up that split 50-50. So we will have more come out of our budget for the Station 151 infrastructure. So I just wanted to open it up for questions for the board too, but from everything we presented tonight, staff recommends that we begin staffing Station 151 a third of the time beginning September 1st. If CCFNR decides to staff 2/3 in July, we would still maintain our current response and mirroring plan. So regardless of when CCFNR decides to staff July or September, we feel that we've laid out the best plan to keep our budget balanced, our personnel healthy, and ensure we're ready to move forward in an exciting manner with this new joint venture.
Exciting.
That's not what I said exactly. Exciting joint venture.
Okay.
And then we're happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
So, Mr. Chair, I have a question. Just a couple. One more of a statement. So, at some point, and I would support a single resource up there that we share. Totally understand the walk before we run. So I get that. Do you think is there a possibility, like, can you and Chief Noor find an agreement to say, hey, both of us are going to start September 1? Is there a way to do that? That would be the cleanest. I think I would feel more comfortable if both agencies were saying, hey, September 1 sounds like we both have some things we got to get to, right? To say, hey, let's do this together,
Right.
and start at the same point.
So I posed that question to Chief Noor about a week and a half ago, told him what we were looking at and the complications we were having with starting at July 1. he understands that completely. He has some complications too, as we pointed out. He brought it to his board last Thursday. They discussed the pros and cons, and his board wanted to contemplate it for 2 weeks before they made a decision. So they will make a decision at their next board meeting, we hope. So yeah, he is open to it. He understands our predicament, and the problem is they've already said to the community, like I said, they've already set that July date, and so they're contemplating if they want to go back on that and wait till September.
But at the last AAF meeting, we said, are you gonna start July 1st? And he said, well, we can't guarantee we're gonna start July 1st, and maybe closer to the end of July, because they have some issues too. So a simultaneous start date would be best. If for some reason they're gonna start July 15th, then we need to consider that. If they're willing to wait to September 1st, so it's cleaner and not as costly, that would probably be a good thing.
Not being on their board, right, it seems like if they have the FTE that they told the taxpayers they would have, like they could say, hey, we're providing the service, they may not be in all the right spots yet, but I suppose that's their board's dilemma, but I mean, seems like there's some ways for them to massage that and still keep their word to the taxpayers and do this joint venture with us at a simultaneous time.
Yeah, I know both chiefs want this program to work. We want it to be successful. We're willing to, do what we have to do to get it there. It's just, do we do it at the risk of wearing out our people and overspending our budget, or do we do it conservatively and where we know we can afford it? Either way, we know that it'll be staffed 24/7 September 1.
Right.
The other issue, just background-wise, we're taking space away from what we've been renting to the sheriff's office. So some of that rent/lease money is gonna go away. So next year, our portion is gonna be more, a little bit higher than it is, because we're taking back that space. It's not gonna be a huge amount,
Yeah.
but just anticipate next year that's gonna happen. And they just don't have enough space anywhere. They're just scrambling, trying to find space, and we're taking some, which is okay, that's part of the deal, but there'll be more costs. And I'm guessing by the time we get done with the workout room and some of the other things that are necessary, we're probably gonna have to do at least another 60 to 80,000 on top of that, and half is 30 for us, 30 or 40 for us, 30 or 40 for them. So we're trying to be as conservative as we can and make it functional. And once we have folks out there, there's gonna be things that come up that, maybe one of the refrigerators don't work right, or were we replacing an oven? We're replacing something in the kitchen, I can't remember what it was. An oven or a refrigerator or a dishwasher or something, I don't remember what it was. But those things are gonna come up.
Right, yeah.
So, 2 more weeks till the Clark County Board meets. That's presumably what their timeline will be.
Yeah, so not this coming Thursday, but the following Thursday.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I have 2 more things.
Yeah.
I didn't want to steal your thunder yet. So I think I appreciated what you put up here. I'm super sympathetic to the overtime over the summer and mandatory overtime, and want to avoid impacts to our crews. I get that. And so what I'm hearing you say from the presentation is that if we were to push forward with July 1, we would have impacts on overtime. How would that anticipate the mandatory component of that over the summer?
Yeah, it depends. So right now, when we pull the numbers, if I took today's staffing, I have to hire between 1 and 2 positions each shift, so 21 shifts for Station 151. If we lose those 3 other people that say that they may step out, then we're probably going to staff it overtime all 3 shifts. At the same time, we're going to have overtime needs for an academy, and then we also staff the Clark County Fair, which is a big overtime draw. And so when we already know that we run lean in the summer, and then we have all these other hits that we anticipate coming, I would say the chances of mandatory are very strong. So, because they're already strong in the summer anyways,
Right.
and then we're trying to add more staffing without the people.
Okay.
And for me, it takes 1 more injury on top of that, or 2 to be in a real dire situation.
Right.
And so that's what gives me pause.
Okay.
Makes me a little nervous.
For light duty.
Yeah. I need quick explanation. I don't need the deep dive. walk me through the shift change at 0700 and 0800 and the 2448, 4896.
Yeah.
How will that happen?
Yeah. So CCFR has agreed to kind of wear the burden of this change, right? From the inception, I think, of these discussions, Chief Norris agreed to, to match our staffing, to match our schedule, and all of those sorts of things. So really, they're bearing the burden of all of those changes. 151, from CCFR's perspective, will have a one-off schedule from their standard 4896 that'll run a little bit differently than the rest of their organization. So they will fall on our A and C and then leave B open. So it's a 4896 for them, but it is a different schedule than the rest of their organization. So it's
Like
kind of a one-off.
B2,
Yeah, so one platoon's gonna see 2 battalion chiefs, basically.
Okay.
So that's how they're gonna manage that. And then the time change, they're also willing to bear the burden on that, because we change at 8, they change at 7. They have debit days, and so they've offered to allow their employees to kind of chip away at a debit day with debit time, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, so every 2.5
Getting
months,
real creative.
2.5 months, you've paid back your one of your
Right,
debit.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
That's, Mr. Chair, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Osbeck, any other questions?
Questions?
Or?
Questions?
Yeah.
It's a public perception issue
Yeah.
for them. We didn't promise we were gonna do it at this point to our folks, but we're making a promise now.
Yeah.
I mean, this board is making a promise that by September 1, we'll have people out there. I guess my suggestion would be to table this, with letting Chief Nor and his board know that if they do September 1st, we'll do September 1st. If they want to do before then at our next meeting,
We'll need to
we
reconsider.
can take action on it.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's anything we need to do motions on or anything like that at this point. But I'd be interested to see what their board does at their next meeting. A year ago, it didn't look like we were gonna have it staffed at all, and now it looks like September 1, we're gonna be 24, 48,
Yeah.
7 days a week. So hopefully the folks out there will appreciate that and understand the costs involved. But I don't think we need to direct the chief at this point. I think after the
I think we'll know more after
CCFR,
the
then we need
conclusion of
to,
that.
take a position.
Make a decision.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's my
Mhm.
take on it.
Okay, I would agree.
So normally you guys don't take action during a workshop, but
Right.
it is on the agenda, so at that point we can just remove it from the agenda if you wanna wait.
This evening's agenda, it's on.
Because we can't take action.
Yeah.
We're not gonna take action anyways. Well, we are taking action. We're taking action. We're gonna staff it September 1st at the latest.
And encouraging both parties to do something simultaneous.
Yeah.
So I think you would do that in the regular meeting
Yeah.
then, when we get to the 151 part.
Are we
Okay.
right, Dave?
Yes.
We have to have a motion. Do we have to have a motion to do
At
that?
a regular meeting, you can,
Yeah, it's under new business here.
Does it take a motion?
What do we
first
say,
to
though?
do it?
I think it takes a motion, but that indicates that you're serious about staffing.
Okay.
And it would be proceeded.
So the public would know that, okay.
All righty. Anything left in the workshop wise?
No, I know it's a whole bunch of work. And I know you've done a whole bunch of work in a short period of time. We appreciate it.
It's exciting and it's fun work.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real positive for the community and citizens. And it's great for both districts to be working towards staffing the facility that's been there now for what, maybe 20 years? So, all righty. Well, with
Chris?
that,
Are you taking anything from the?
you bet, sir. Do you have
Well,
questions?
I just had a question about the exercise equipment.
Uh-huh.
Is CFF&R gonna kick in any money for that? Because their guys are gonna be using it too.
Yeah, it sounds like the way I understand the purchase is to be a joint purchase, is that right? The split is 50-50 on that, right?
Yeah, so that would be a purchase for the facility, so that would all be through the triple
That's
FB
fair,
and
yeah.
split 50/50.
So the sheriff's office already has some out there.
Correct,
So they're gonna have theirs, we're gonna have ours. Is there any way to?
because they're separating the spaces,
Okay.
so, yeah.
We can't work out with cops.
I guess it's a really small space,
Oh, okay.
and so
Yeah,
if we put our people in there with the cops,
It's
it's
about
pretty tight. It's like an office.
30% of this room.
I think the crews out there are already driving the cops a little nuts
Right.
with the banging around.
Yeah.
So if we start doing that 367.
Plus,
I think the cops are driving them a little.
Yeah, they pick things up and put things down.
Do you have anything come in on, I'm just curious if there's anybody watching that would pay attention.
That's two questions. Is there anybody watching?
I don't know.
Oh, thank you, I was just curious.
Any other questions that I might have missed from the audience? Anybody else?
No, that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
Yeah.
really, I'm glad it's coming together finally. I mean, it's, I'm looking forward to it. Not that I want to see you guys in any.
You can come visit at the station. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, an open house.
All righty, well, with that, at this time I'll call our regular board meeting to order and ask that you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for any additions to this evening's agenda.
None here.
No.
Okay. We'll need to read, approve, post as necessary the minutes of our April 4th board meeting.
So move.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Correspondence this evening in our packet. I did see one piece of correspondence. And perhaps you both got this in your email as well. It's a May 17th Southwest Fire Commissioners meeting held at Clark Cowlitz Fire Rescue. There'll be a dinner beginning at 6:30 and the meeting starting at 7.
Give me that one more time.
May 17th, 6:30 in the evening at Clark Cowlitz.
Okay.
Roger will be there and Ann will be there with healthcare and date, which I'll talk about later. And then Ann Rivers is going to come and trying to get one of the legislative persons.
Okay, great.
Get some face-to-face with
Yeah.
them.
Get crowned that day, I'll be happy to come.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, that's
you
not-
can-
Yeah.
Temporary off-board.
All right, May 17th, perfect. It looks
Okay.
like in order to, for that, Chief Bartel, or Commissioner Bartel, will need the email by May 8th for that, so.
And Chief, you're welcome. You kept the last one, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All righty.
It's closer than last time, so that's good.
Yeah.
Closer to home, right? Citizen communication, citizens wishing to speak with the board this evening or have any questions, you can do so using the YouTube live feature. If you're watching virtually, there is a chat box where you can post those questions that will be monitored throughout this evening's meeting. Committee reports. Health and safety report?
No report.
Okay. Risk management group, Commissioner Haynes?
Yeah, I think we had a meeting. I think just one of the areas where make sure that we're watching. I know when we had the water damage here, the claim, we were paid pretty up 28,000, is that
I
and
think
change?
21, yeah.
21,000. We just want to make sure we didn't take all of that. We want to make sure that the fact that we turned back in some of that money doesn't affect our overall rating for next year. And so we had some discussion at the meeting about that to make sure that we're rated on the $4,600,
Not the 28.
not the 28,
Correct.
21,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, feel like we had pretty decent direction on that, but,
Mhm.
yeah, that was pretty much a significant portion of that meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Fairgrounds Fire Facility Board?
Next month.
Next month, okay. Next up is the parade. Commissioner Losbeck.
Yeah, we're gonna have a parade, May 20th. I think we're gonna have a parade. We don't have a permit from. The county council has to approve closing Highway 99 now.
Oh.
And the stuff went into them last week and we haven't heard anything. But Chief Russell was keeping us appraised on remodel, which we are gonna happen, so.
Yeah.
He's working with the Lions Club and the radio people and finding space for there, and our meeting in May will be here on that Thursday before the parade, but it's going well. We've got about 65 or 70 entries now, which will probably put us at about 100, 110. One of you are gonna drive the Hollybird. Maybe one of the new engines might be in the parade if we can find someone else that drive it. No, it's doing fine. The Lions are just gonna do coffee and hot chocolate and donuts and stuff. They're not gonna do a full breakfast. It's so expensive right now for them to get the food to serve that they'd have to raise their prices, and they really don't wanna do that, so. That'll work, and I think we have enough people to make it happen. The Friday night before, there was a reception for both Bob Knight and Royce Pollard, who are the Grand Marshals, 5:30 at the 48 on 78th Street. And everybody in this room is invited. If you want to go, let me know. We've got numerous politicians that are going to be there, some sponsors we're going to thank, and recognize those two gentlemen. They're both lieutenant colonels of the Vancouver Barracks. And then Bob Knight was the president of Clark College for probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Well known in the community. We expect a fairly large turnout and
It'll be May 19th? May, okay.
the night before, yeah, 5:30 at where the chalet is, where the Loki Park's down there.
Okay.
If you want to go, just let me know, because we have to give a head count.
Okay.
And there'll be light hors d'oeuvres and beverages.
All right.
Good chance to meet some of the folks in the community.
Mr. Chair, do you need a ride in that event, in the Hollybird?
Well, that sounds great.
Okay,
Thank you, Commissioner Haynes.
And his
Thank you.
kids.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you'd be happy.
So Commissioner Losbeck, I registered the district today for one new engine.
Good.
in the Hollybird. Yeah.
And I'm assuming
Thanks.
that locals probably gonna do the MBA thing again.
I mentioned it at our staff meeting to Unit Vice President Peterson that they need to fill in.
They gotta fill one out for
Fill one out,
liability
yeah.
issues, but we'll put them right behind you
Okay.
and go from there, so. And the last thing, a little bit, the Sounds of Freedom is the theme this year. Skyview's gonna play the national anthem at 10:25, and there's a 60-40 chance we're gonna have a flyover with F-15s at 10:30, which would be kinda cool.
That is the sound free.
Not for sure yet, but things are coming together, so. Got a lot of work this year. Insurance went up, Public Works is gonna charge us to run its cones and barricades for the first time ever, so we've worked through the issues. Anyway,
Okay.
thank you, everybody with the district that's been involved, that's helped, and we got a meeting Wednesday, and the next one will be here. Hopefully the traffic will be like it.
Yeah, I got stuff.
Anyway, that's all, sir.
All right, well, that sounds real good. May 20th. Consent agenda.
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Chief's report, if you want to just move through those items.
Overtime for March 2023 was a total of $114,271.71. Most of that was in shift replacement and overtime. I have asked Tina to start doing a monthly rundown, so you'll see that at the bottom of your overtime report in your packet where she reports out each month what we have. And you'll see it start to increase now as we go into summer and hunting season, and then it'll go back down about November.
The cycle,
December.
right?
Yeah,
Cycle of life.
turkey season.
For the budget performance report for 6212 general fire, the anticipated expenditure should be 24.99. We've expended 19.7. And for 6242 EMS, the anticipated expenditure should be 24.99, and we've expended 20.2%. So we're good on the budget performance.
Okay. Moving on to old business, impact fees.
This isn't a motion, but whoever it needs to be there, the secretary. Inform the public that the district is going to staff our portion of 151 by September 1st. We're gonna wait and see what CCF&R's board does as far as when they're gonna staff it. Might adjust that, but we won't know that till our next meeting. But I think it's important for the public to know that we're committed
Yeah.
to staffing that September 1st, and it should be staffed 24/7 for those folks that live out there.
Agreed. Agreed. Thank you.
Did I cover all of our bases?
Yes. Yeah.
You looked at me funny. What I,
No.
okay.
You jumped an agenda.
Make it sound good, will you?
All righty. Moving on to the old business of impact.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's why you looked at me.
That's why you look at me funny. You're supposed to say, hey, wake up.
But you were ready to go.
I just
You were-
skipped
you were
over
ready-
it.
You were ready to go.
I just skipped over impact fees.
That's good.
Yeah.
We know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Actually, I was following my, yeah.
Yeah.
That was right after she talked about budget performance on the way.
Okay.
I went from 6 to 7, I'm sorry.
No worries.
I need to go to 8? No. Anyway.
Yeah, hey, impact fees. yeah.
So on April 6th, I sent an email to all the board members discussing or explaining what the chiefs were asking for with impact fees with the county, and specifically letting you know that we are going to have a workshop with the county counselors on May 10th at 9 o'clock in the morning at the county building. So you all are welcome to come. And then that will just be a workshop to explain what the chiefs are asking for and for them to ask questions. I sent this same email to the local, so they're well aware of the meeting as well and why we're asking for these impact fees, and so we're keeping them informed on what we're doing as well. So just information.
That's May 10th?
May 10th at 9 o'clock.
Okay. And has any of the Southwest Washington Fire Chiefs has there been any meetings with the business or the building industry association or anything like that that's taken place?
Yes, Chief Sorensen has met with them, so
With Bart.
It's Bart
Bart.
Hanson, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, he
Okay.
met with him last week, and I'm not sure how that went yet, so.
Okay. All righty.
Do you find, that you can't speak for the other boards, are most of the boards supportive of this idea? The chief's kind of running with this? Is there anybody cranky over the issue?
No.
Okay.
No, and actually, District 3 went for this on their own
Yeah.
a couple years ago, and were not successful, and so we came back and said we could do it all as chiefs and maybe have more of a collective voice, so that's what we're doing with it. So their board's been very supportive of it, Clarkford and us and Beaver City Council, I guess, but it's actually District 5, sorry, with
Okay.
Vancouver, yeah.
At the May 10th workshop, will that be a time where they outline kind of how the fees are collected and doled out and what the fees look like? I mean, there's a lot of unknowns here.
So there are a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't even have the okay to collect them. So all we're asking for the county is the method to collect them. So the county would collect those fees. Each district then has to develop a capital facilities plan, and within that plan, there's formulas on what your impact fees are. So until we do that, we can't collect the fees, and we don't know the fees. So there's a whole nother part to the process. This is just putting into the place the mechanism to allow us to do it if District 6 so chooses to do it. It doesn't say we have to do it,
Okay.
but
Very good.
Would we then create like a board policy that says, here's how we collect impact fees, and here's what we would do with said money, that sort of thing?
I'll have to look into whether we need a policy or not, but it would definitely be in the capital facilities plan, that it would say these are what we're getting the impact fees for, and they can only be used for capital facilities.
Okay.
So it can
There's
only
an
be used for
RCW
your.
that addresses it, and unfortunately, if it passes, we wouldn't get anything for this building, or can you go back? I'm not sure. I don't think, we wouldn't get any money in time to help offset
No.
this. It would be down the road, 151 or something.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, more to come. Thank you. Thank you. New business.
So can I go back to
What
number
commissioner,
7?
what commissioner lost me?
From 6 to 8 back to 7. Secretary Taylor, could you
Yeah.
put my comments in there now?
That the district intends to staff Station 151 no later than September?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on what CCF and ours board does.
Yeah, I guess I would just say, we're encouraging our chief to work with their chief about a simultaneous
Yeah, I would agree.
rollout whenever possible.
All right. Any additional 151 items? Okay. Fleet review.
Number 9.
Number 9. All right. I'll find it now. Yeah, we got to put numbers next to these. There.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
So Chief Newberry has worked with Brad Osborne to do a fleet review for the board. The mechanic position, we've upgraded that a lot from what we used to have, and so he wanted to make sure that you guys knew what they were working on. But essentially they created goals for themselves in 2022. Those are listed in your packet, but they wanted a preventative maintenance schedule based on hours and miles. Before we were just doing them on every 6 months or whatever they were on the calendar rotation. Turn around all the preventative maintenance within 1 week, perform all routine maintenance and repairs in-house, establish a parts room, and operate the program within a budget. So for the preventative maintenance, they've done that. They're serviced now every 250 hours instead of 3 times a year. And so our rigs are getting serviced more and more on an accurate schedule. The turnaround on all preventative maintenance and repairs within 1 week, Brad's been turning those around in 3 days or less, so he's doing it even faster than what they set the goals for. And he's also very great at communicating with the crews. Oftentimes he'll come in before the crews are even awake and at shift change and have their stuff fixed for them. And then he always follows it up with exactly what he did to the unit so that they know. He does most of the preventative maintenance in-house. There's been a couple things like transmission repairs and stuff where he has to do more engine work that he just needs an extra set of hands. But if it's a one-person job, Brad does it. Establish a parts room. We are the envy of many districts around us. They're calling Brad every day for parts because we have them and we're storing them. Right. And we're not giving them away because we need them. So we are the envy, and he's got us set up there. You can see that all of their line items are under budget. Parts, they're 6% under budget. Tires and tubes, 13%. Motor oil, 49%. Vehicle repair maintenance, 46%. And the shop saved over $42,000 or 32% from the previous year. So that's just in money, but that's not in the time that we were spending driving back and forth to Tanana and our time out of service. So pretty impressive stuff that they're doing with the shops. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Guy's a rock star.
Yeah.
Brad's doing great, but further on down,
Yeah, I see those 3 items I'd like to.
yeah, the other 3 items, I guess one's fine. Shop space. When we hired Brad, and we were working on doing some stuff here at the station, he felt that what we had down there was adequate, and he also said that he could service a truck inside the station. We didn't have to have a separate bay for a truck. Has he changed his mind?
Well, I think Brad thought what he had was adequate to start with the hope that it would grow. But you couldn't fit a truck in the current shop now. You couldn't pull it out of the weather.
No, but he was saying that if you had to work on a truck, you do it at the station in that.
Oh,
truck bay.
right, yeah,
He could still do that.
yeah. It just depends on what the board wants. If it wants us to be a self-sufficient shop, he's probably gonna need more space. But with more space comes more hands because he still couldn't do some of those repairs on his own. But one of the other things that they were looking at is there's other agencies in the county that really need mechanics, and so that's that number 3 where they're talking about looking at some kind of joint cooperative mechanic program in the county. So
Are the conceptual ideas to be based out of around here? Like if we were to share something, like they might help pay for something around here, or would it be they would have their own, we would have our own, or how did you see that work?
Conceptually, they're looking at a joint place, whether it's here, 151, or a station in Clarkford, I don't know. But
Paid for by impact fees.
Yeah, absolutely. Conceptually, though, District 6 had a design for a shop upgrade, and we had to bump that off the remodel
Right.
because of cost.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think that this whole report highlights a lot of value that's been added to the district and Brad's time here, and we're able to see that value on just a daily basis. So that's all really good. I'd like to encourage the continued evaluation of all of these items that are listed on here. If we don't venture out, we don't explore these opportunities, we don't recognize where we can collaborate or where we can attempt to grow the service that we're providing in that area. So.
Yeah, and I will say these goals were all developed by Chief Newberry, and he's been managing all these goals, so this has been a vision of his for a long time too. And they work really well together in coming to fruition with those. So yeah, it's been a good partnership for both of them.
Yeah, I would just encourage staff to continue pushing forward and evaluating all of these items for what the future may look like. So.
And then I just wanted to add that Brad did just receive 3 of his EBT certifications. So,
Oh, great.
yeah.
Great.
Is he
He's
working
well
on,
certified.
is he working on our command vehicles? Does he service those and stuff? We don't send those out.
Yeah.
anymore.
We don't send
That
anything
was
out.
spendy, okay.
Yeah, he does all of our oil and service.
Thank you. You save us a lot of money and time, a lot of time, downtime.
Yeah, those are all incredible aspects here, that all those goals that have been achieved with just in the last year, that he's been fully dedicated to it.
You guys go out and help him pull a transmission?
Oh, it's fine.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
once in a while.
A what?
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions related to the fleet review?
No, that's good report.
Policy 1053, uniform regulations.
So this is the second review before the board. Essentially, this adds the ability for personnel to wear ponytails that don't have to be up in a bun. This was brought forward by a captain, and it still doesn't alleviate the need to have all your hair tied up when you're in PPE. So it can't interfere with the PPE at all. This is just a uniform change, a daily uniform change.
Does that need a motion from us?
Yes, to
Yeah.
approve the policy change.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of policy 1053 uniform regulations.
Second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's hard, it's hard.
Look at you.
It's hard,
Old
I'm
school.
sorry. Aye.
Old school guy.
I know.
Sometimes you sound like an old chief.
I know. I feel like it. I can't follow you.
Yeah, nice work that you did.
Can't follow you.
It's funny, the officer that brought it forward has no hair, so.
Huh.
It wasn't Captain Bob.
Alrighty, executive session. I didn't see any need for executive session this evening. Roundtable, good of the order.
You might have noticed the chief sent out an email to everybody about our medical insurance.
I did.
I serve on the State Fire Chiefs Medical Board, and we made the decision after thorough due diligence, honestly, we made the decision to switch to Cigna for our medical. Looking back on it, I gotta be careful. I don't think they lied to us, but I don't think they told us the whole truth. Their payments have decreased in some areas. There's physicians dropping them. Chiropractors, massage, I mean, it's been a mess, and I know it's been a mess here too. And we've heard everybody loud and clear that it's not working. So we're in the process, it's gonna take some time. Unfortunately, everybody's gonna get a new card or cards, but we're going back to first choice. It's gonna be a little more expensive, we're gonna be able to absorb that. Insurance will probably go up a little bit next year for everybody in the country. But we voted to do that, and August 1st, folks should have new cards, we should be switched over. It'll be that switch over hassle again, but all the coverage that folks had last year, which they were happy with, will happen again on August 1st. And Ann sent out a letter, our manager, apologizing for what happened. And we honestly took a lot of time deciding whether to switch or not, and it seemed like a good thing at the time. Sometimes the old grass isn't greener, so anyway, that's happening on August 1st, and my apology to the crews for any inconvenience that might have occurred. We try to do the best we can. And fair warning, hospitals are raising their rates, doctors are raising their rates, labs are raising their rates. Expecting an insurance bump next year. I can't tell you what it's gonna be, but there'll be one.
Commissioner, could you clarify that the increase that may happen because of the change mid-year is being absorbed by the fire commissioners and
Yes.
not by the district?
Yes. It's gonna be, we've estimated it's gonna be about $200,000. Because we have to carry over, claims that occur in July are still gonna be covered by Cigna, but sometimes it takes them 2 or 3 or 4 months to pay that back, which we have to go back and do. Plus the new cards, plus everything else. We have money invested, we're healthy, and we're gonna absorb that. It won't cost the district anything, except it's just a pain to issue new cards. But at least we're going back to what folks had, so they know what the rules are. It's not like we're doing Cigna again, and you can't go to your favorite chiropractor anymore, so.
Well, it was a discussion at our last labor management about the difficulty people were having in not being able to find physicians, especially in the Vancouver area. They were all located in Portland. And so I notified the local today, and they were thankful that. you're
And
making
I,
the change.
several of our employees did contact me because they know I'm on the
Yeah.
committee. And they weren't the only ones. It was around the state. It was uniform. It was a terrible plan. We were kind of sold a bill of goods, so be careful.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think my only thing, I saw, just kind of a shout out to one of our social media presence. I saw we had an event at Klein Line the other day, and just the crews continue to do a great job. And anytime we're highlighting what they're doing is amazing and good for our taxpayers. So keep up the good work. Everybody, our posts and our crews that are doing the work out there.
Very good.
We had crews out there on overtime, but we also had some of our support service volunteers helping with
Nice.
that, so
Oh,
it was
great.
nice.
Great.
That they're involved.
I just wanted to add that May 13th, we are still planning on having an open house at Station 63. It'll be like a 2-hour open house where we'll have stations and just rotate. We've invited the Business Association, Neighborhood Association presidents, and Catherine will send those invites out this week. so-
Okay, and past commissioners.
And past commissioners, yes.
I will not be able to make that on duty that day. I have a apparatus inspection.
And then I also wanted to let the board know that in addition to parade on May 20th, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Local 452 will be hosting a memorial
Right.
for retired Captain Kramer.
Okay.
And so they have asked the district to speak as well as the local, and we will be there.
That
Right.
Union Hall?
Union
Yeah.
Hall, yeah.
Hopefully you found some pictures in our archive somewhere.
We
There
did.
should be a lot of pictures there.
It's
Good
a
guy.
young looking people,
Yeah.
you included.
People in general, yeah. Long hair.
No pony.
No
Letting the guard down.
Yeah, you- gentleman right there was the only one we had to hassle with ponytail last time. He was a little.
I was just gonna bring up, what happened to the fireman's ball?
Liability.
I ran in, you remember when Bud gave us those Rainier cowboy hats that one year? I found mine the other day. Great.
Alrighty, well with that, we'll need to authorize April issuance of payroll warrants, authorize April payroll direct deposit treasurer's check, authorize April deposit of federal and FICA medical withholding treasurer's check, authorize pre-authorization invoice transmittal, and authorize payment of current bills.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Chief, any questions here this evening? Okay, none. Any additional questions from the audience this evening?
I just have a recommendation that I think in October is Fire Prevention Month, I would entertain that maybe you and Clark Collins have an open house out at 151 and punch the word out that it's
Yeah.
staffed.
Do you think anybody would come?
Yeah.
Bridget will.
Huh? Well, she might.
She might.
That's a great idea, thank you. Thanks, Steve.
The Neighborhood Association has been newly named the Four Creeks. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Okay.
Four Creek?
Four Creeks Neighborhood Association. Now,
What
it's
creek
no
do they
longer
have?
the Fairgrounds Neighborhood
What creek did
Association.
they add?
Huh?
What creek did they add?
I don't know.
Three creeks.
There's a bunch more.
Three
Maybe Packard Creek.
Cougar, Salmon Creek, and Whipple Creek.
I had
G
one question.
G Creek. That's.
There was, at one time, the fire district was involved in, when developments were being planned and designed, in the infrastructure of the development itself, mainly because of access with fire equipment.
Mhm.
And to me, that's gone away. I mean, you go into some of these subdivisions now and you can hardly get a car turned around, and I just kind of wonder about EMS equipment, and, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me at all. And as fire equipment's getting bigger instead of smaller.
Chief
Great
Schmidt's
point.
in charge of that program for us.
Yeah, so I took that over about 2.5 years ago, and, that's been the focus, is making sure our apparatus can get in and out. So I've had numerous discussions with developers, and gone around, working with the fire marshal's office to make sure we have both access, proper hydrants, proper location for FTCs, all those important things, features. So we're pushing that hard, because I know it was maybe overlooked in the past on some other developments.
Yeah, man.
I know when our tiller truck gets here, they'll be able to get anywhere we go.
Well, the county did change some of those
Yeah.
codes, trying to force people into buses so they don't have as many parking spots, so people are parking everywhere.
Right.
Nobody enforces it, but that's something that we can't battle, that's a county
Right.
county council issue, but I know the new apartments on 179th, I drove through one of those the other day, and I think there was access in that one, until people park.
Yeah, tell people.
On the
park
roll
right.
curb.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That'll happen.
Right.
Chris, yeah.
Just a quick question, I know it's gonna probably come up, but switching insurance companies, we've already paid, a lot of people have already paid their out-of-pocket deductible. If we switch back, are we,
Send your out-of-pocket deductible to trustee plans, and they will reimburse you. That'll continue.
okay, and then we can apply that to.
And that was part of the problem. They were supposed to pay a portion,
Yeah.
and then we were gonna reimburse the rest, even though it wasn't part of their policy.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't reimburse anything.
No. Ooh.
Not even their 80, and we were gonna cover the other 20, but no, we will cover that. Send your,
To trustee.
you know,
Okay.
chiropractor, massage, and some of those things really took a hit.
Yeah.
And if you send that, or call trustee plans, and they'll tell you how to
Okay.
take care of that, but we will cover it.
Thank
Should
you.
we do that before August 1st, or will Ann
They can
come
do
out
it,
with
they can do it
details?
anytime.
Okay.
She'll probably have some further instructions, but in the meantime, just call, you have that number in your card?
Yeah.
Give them a call.
Yeah, I've called a few times, so yeah, that's perfect.
Tell them Brad said.
I will.
Actually, after the last meeting, they know me. They know me.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
All righty, any other questions? All right, well, with that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.